Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Co-Creating with AI. I'm Martin, and with me, as always, is Rasmus, my co-host. How are you today, Rasmus?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I've my daughter started a new preschool, and it finally feels kind of smooth, which
Cool, awesome,
means my
congratulations.
mornings are sort
Yeah,
of smooth
probably a
again, which is
big
nice.
disrupt for both you and her, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a lot of kind of yeah. I mean, it's good. How
Mm.
are you?
Oh, I'm good. Enjoying the sunny weather down here in the south, and having fun with the ChatGPT code interpreter, or as it's called now, advanced data analysis of ChatGPT. And I'm happy to talk about a bit about my findings there, if you want. But otherwise,
Yeah,
what do you want to
sure.
talk about today?
I mean, I'd love to hear that. I've obviously seen a bunch of the demos, but haven't really. I haven't used it, so I
Hmm.
mean that's means I'm just secondhand information, really. But yeah, I mean, on that topic, I think it's maybe pretty interesting. Like 1 year in now since kind of ChatGPT launched, almost at least, and the AI hype began at earnest. To just look at like what has actually happened, which jobs are
Yeah.
actually affected, who is actually using this new wave of AI and for what, and I mean, it's just 1 year in, but where does it look like which professions, like, and which parts of society does it look like it's gonna, actually have an
Hmm.
impact on, beyond the hype, in the near term. And I think maybe, that's potentially a good segment into the Chat GPT. Did you call it data analyst?
Yeah. Data. It's called advanced data analysis.
Okay,
That
but yeah,
version. Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
definitely definitely targets data analysis, which is currently done by data analysts, which is a job, right? So
Yes.
let's
True.
let's just let's just start there. Like, I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, so I can just go over the basics then. Advanced data analysis in ChatGPT is this function where you can actually allow ChatGPT to write small Python scripts and execute them in local environment, just a VPS that they are creating and then throwing away. So there is no way you can upload a virus and do evil things with it. And it has limited memory, limited compute, and so on, but still is powerful. There's an upload limit of 100 megabyte large images, which is quite a lot.
Mm,
And you can also zip files and upload a lot of files in one zip file. And basically, you can, since you can run general code on it, and it has all these NumPy and scikit and like these scientific computational libraries in its Python install, it can really do advanced data analysis, just like the name says. And that's the that's the main, I guess, use case for it. That's why they named it like that. Code interpreter sounds that leaves a lot more open as a name, but then again, then you have to really um, realize yourself that, oh, I can do data analysis with this.
I mean, it
But
really feels like it's the engineers doing the branding at OpenAI.
yeah, it
You know what
is,
I mean?
yes, yeah, and
Like
then
it's
maybe they
Chat
are reflecting in
GPT is also
hindsight.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like, how did that become a brand?
yeah,
Anyhow. Um, cool.
yeah.
But so does that mean like I can throw in like just like simple example CSV, like a
Mhm.
huge one? 100 megs is a lot of rows of text, right?
That's a lot of data.
Uh,
Yeah,
and then like just ask it to do something that you could in natural language that a good Python programmer could do.
exactly. So, for example, that could be if you are a retailer or a retail brand in foods. What you could achieve is to find out if you have the data, like how much is the sugar level in our foods affecting the sales of that food. You can run correlations and discover correlations
Mm,
like that, or um, do regression analysis to find trends and so on in the data. Are we trending upwards or downwards on sustainability, um, price levels, profit margins, and so on, and where are we making money as a company.
And that's interesting because, like, if we just hark that back to like, what is that actually doing? Like, so I could hire like a data analyst. Like a good
Yeah.
data analyst would probably be able to write Python, or I don't know, whatever language
Mm,
like he prefers, right? But some like a good data analyst needs to be able to write code,
mm,
generally. I mean, otherwise you just use a general BI tool, which I could learn, but it sort of limits me, I guess, to whatever functions the BI tool is already implemented, right? So this is
mm.
kind of like, okay, I need to do something custom to us and custom to the problem at hand. Like it's something specific. And then now I really like the special competence that a data analyst comes with is, I mean, maybe partly to ask questions, right? But mostly it's being able to, answer questions,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's maybe that's a general frame for kind of like competency here. Like, I mean, there is one part of competency that is asking questions, realizing what
Mm,
is a good question, like what matters, um, prioritization, goals, But then there's also just like getting the answer to a question. In this case, potentially, if I'm a manager, that just tries this out. Instead, like I'm thinking of hiring a data analyst, but
mm.
I realize that, what, I have our data. And right now I have to, maybe upload a CSV file, but there will probably be, I mean, in different tools, other alternatives going forward. But then like
Yeah.
I can just throw it in there and I can ask a question and it will
Excel
give that
files
answer, right?
already work, so you can just
Yeah.
take your Excel straight, load
Yeah.
load it straight up. Yeah.
So therefore, like it should in theory be able to like reason about like what is like get take the question and just like literally sequence and kind of like how does
Mm.
that work? Do you know that? Like how does it think in steps and then like does it do that whole thing explaining how it's thinking, what code it's running, and then like asking
Yeah.
for input or like how does it work? Like who's the target group of that? Like how does it feel to use it?
So it feels very interactive. It's explaining what it does. It doesn't show the code by default, but you can click the show
Yeah.
code button to see the code. And that is powerful in two ways. One, because you can see what it's doing in detail if you understand the code, but you can also like copy paste the code into your own
Mm,
Python environment and run it. So it is actually coding, it's producing code. So if you have a
mm,
recurring analysis to do, you can run it on the same data set over and over again as the data evolves. But it is also regarding the asking questions, answering questions. It is actually a really big thing to be able to ask GPT-4, what can I learn from this data? What questions could I potentially be asking this data?
mm.
And then there's another component which is cleaning the data, which is uh, the data science is really a garbage in, garbage out
Yeah.
operation, and so GPT-4 can analyze the data and say that this is too sparse, and then suggest methods of how to solve that, removing rows with missing data or filling the gaps.
Right. Okay. And so, but it's interesting, like, so you can do the normal thing like that GPT-4 is quite good at, which is something like, this is my objective. I am this type of customer, right? I am
Mm,
a company. We care about this. Help us find out, three things that could potentially increase our retention, or like help us identify what, like, how our like I mean, I guess that's just normal regression and correlation, right? But like it can, you can ask higher level questions and it can break it down and then actually perform the analysis, or
mm,
actually perform the analysis to even, I guess, to both ask and answer the questions.
mm.
I mean, yeah, that is very powerful.
Another example is what I'm doing now, and I'm taking images I generate from Midjourney. And Midjourney has it does this thing sometimes where they put text inside the image, and I'm trying to see if I can automate um, replacing the text, because if the text is too small in image, it's just noisy lines. To see if it can detect those noisy lines and actually
Mm,
replace them with GPT-4 output, so I can get actual text in Midjourney, because Midjourney
Mm.
is that doesn't generate understandable text. So the process there is that I upload the image to GPT-4 inside ChatGPT, and and then I can reason with together with GPT-4 how what kind of analysis can I run in order to detect text boxes in the image. And the reason why that really helps me is that these advanced packages like Scikit and NumPy, they implement state-of-the-art image analysis algorithms, super powerful things that are that come from the state-of-the-art research papers on image analysis. But I have no idea what is in those packages. I never used Scikit before, and so I can use AI as a guide
Mm.
into these advanced programming libraries and find out what can I actually do, what
Mm.
algorithms are available out of the box already implemented, and then it's so easy to for the AI to call those algorithms. It doesn't make any mistakes. It doesn't have to implement any algorithms itself. It
Mm.
just calls libraries, and I can download the code later if when I come up with an automation that works to replace the text with actual text. I can just download the code and do that publish that as a web service without any AI involved at all at that stage.
Okay, so like to just to put that in and make sure I understand. Like I understand you have the image from Midjourney, you have the unrecognizable text. That means Stable Diffusion does that as well. So anytime, like
Mm,
often images becomes unusable because just it looks like text-ish, but it's not. Uh,
exactly.
and and then like you're saying that ChatGPT can actually help you figure out how to discover them, and then you will of course understand how it did that, and there you have the code which you can
Yeah.
reuse. Yeah, I mean that is amazing because it's sort of like I can understand. I don't know why they call it code interpreter. Really, they probably have a very specific reason for that to
Mm,
begin with. But it's very interesting in how it like in that way helps you on quite a high level of solving a problem with code.
yeah.
That's quite like a high level problem. Like I have this image, I need to recognize this text box. How do I do that? That's
Mm,
kind of a very high level coding problem, where you have to like figure out the strategy to do that, or like look through the tool sets available. And quite
mm.
amazing.
Yeah, so in what that means right now is that instead of hiring a data scientist or an image analysis expert to do that for me, I can do that myself. Or instead of spending 2 weeks to just learn Scikit first and maybe do an MIT course on it, or read 3 books on it, I can just dive in and in 2 hours, while having
Yeah.
tons of fun, produce actual value. So the learning threshold is just flattened, and just the adrenaline rush of experiencing that is also an energy drive for me to work with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. We were just like, when we pre-chatted, we talked a little bit about, like specialist competency and generalist competency. And I think what's pretty interesting here is this, we've talked about like the 10x developer before, but it really feels like this is going to lead to like the 100x, I don't know, producer kind of, where like if you're really good at being a generalist in this new like wave, then
Mm,
you can be like the data, like you can do all the data analysis, you can do the branding and the communication work because you are good at using these new tools. So it's like it's interesting, like it's not only that people will like you will replace jobs, you will also like create a whole new kind of class of producers that can like be generalists in a true sense, because before
mm,
you could be, I mean most people at least could be generalist, like superficially competent in a lot of things,
mm,
like most like early stage like founders like are forced to be that,
mm,
but being a specialist in many things, that takes years, and so much time. But now you will almost like have the ability to for the people who become really good at being generalists in this sense, working with AI, right, to be
Mm.
specialists in so many things. What do you think? Is that your experience there, like being like working with the data analysis,
Yeah,
ChatGPT data
definitely.
analysis? Yeah.
And it's both the competency and also just the time spent. Like, if you want to be a front end developer, it's a full time job to keep up with all the libraries and frameworks that comes out, right? But now the AI can do that. It can really quickly read tons of documentation on something that was published yesterday,
Mm,
and all of a sudden, um, you are not an expert, but you can dive straight to the point inside that documentation, and with AI as a co-creating
mm,
programmer. um, you can ask it what it should do, and or to do what you want to accomplish, and it will
mm.
apply the latest technology to that. So that take also takes away the need for the specialist that really just works in a single field. Of course, then if you want to do really like deep tech or something highly specialized in front end development, you still need that expert, but you're still going to want to hire and then a special like a specialized expert that uses AI to elevate their productivity.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So, like with anything, right? So, I don't know, Photoshop, let's say Figma means that like I can design a nice looking presentation or even like
Mm,
I don't know, some UX flows for the product, right? But it also means that someone who's great, a great designer can design things really fast and really well using Figma. And I guess this is just like, I mean, is this just like
mm,
another step of that? Is it the same kind of dynamic that I will now be able to do like much more data analysis than I would be able to do in Excel, which, or Google Sheets, which I would currently use if I would do it, or Airtable, right? Because I have access to this, like I become like a normal specialist today, but a specialist still has, using AI can go even deeper, or I don't know which dimension you want to use, right? Is that still the same thing, or is it a different dynamic, do you think?
no, I think it's a lot of the same dynamics, and but the difference is that it um, anyone can use Figma. The expert can use it better, um, it, but AI plus Excel is like it's two levels up. If you're an like or it's two magnitudes of high productivity compared to
Mm,
not using Excel at all. And so you can like I think it's amazing in just leveling the playing field. And then, of course, it's not that the AI can be a better designer than a great designer, but it can allow the great designer to focus a lot more on the design, or the data scientist to focus a lot more on the strategy
mm,
of data science rather than the tactics of it. And it can like the production or the actual like writing the code can be done by AI
yeah.
super quick and iterated on very very quick. And so the human can work on what humans do best as always, and the AI can replace
Mm.
only the repetitive stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's like, yeah, I think like for me, it's a bit like, a good designer, I don't know, like how much better he is than me, but, a magnitude seems at least about right,
Hmm. Yeah.
that, a good designer is at least 10 times better at design than I am. And then maybe with, the way things are moving, I will soon be able to design on the level that an average designer will be
Mm.
able to do, right? Or an
Yeah.
average data analyst, maybe it's already possible, right?
Mm.
Uh, and then that person can then 10x his productivity and probably quality as well, because, making less mistakes, spotting mistakes, etc. And then the real, like, I wonder how this is going to affect like the real superstars, the so-called 10xers today. Are they like literally going to be, you know, like still keep their edge, or is this going to diminish their edge? You know what I
Mm.
mean? Are they still going to be 10 times better, or are they like? But maybe that will be split. I don't know. It's just an interesting question how this will affect like the dynamics of the job
Yeah.
market. Is this be an equalizer in the sense that like it reduces the differences between the newbie and the expert within any given field, or is it still going to be the same? It's just everyone moves up. I don't know if that question can be answered, but like, I don't know. It'd be
No, but
interesting.
it's an interesting thing to think about, and how does that affect how we think about our work, our education, our kids' education, and so on. My uh, oldest daughter is 19. She's starting computer science master's program right now, and like her, the world is going to evolve um, around her, like uh, 10x over the next 5 years. She's gonna start school in a completely different world than when she's finishing school, and and so it's what is really important is for her to keep up with that, to not like spend time inside school as a closed environment to what is going on in the outside world. But then again, when I was in when I did the exact same education as her, just in a different university, we were taught about agent technology. And this was in 1998. I'm that
Mm.
I'm that old, and I hadn't heard about agent technology. Nobody ever used it uh, in the outside world, and that I could, and there were no books about it. And it's not until now, 25 years later, that it's actually um, the one of the biggest things in the tech industry with agent
Mm.
technology. So the university, although it can be seen as at times as a closed sandbox, they can also be far ahead of their time. And with AI and agents, they have been um, for a long time.
That is interesting as well. Like in the terms of like, I think like in terms of getting up to competence level as well. I mean, in theory, your daughter could be like a good developer really quickly, like if she's efficient at using like AI to support her in that learning journey,
Mm,
and also, of course, be productive much quicker because the productivity boost.
yeah.
So I just like it's going to be interesting to see. I think like there will like now we look at kind of digital natives. That's like a thing, right? And
Mm,
I don't know if you count as digital native. I think I'm
I
just
don't.
before.
I
I'm
don't
definitely,
definitely know.
which is funny because you're much more digitally native than I am. but but in any case, like there's really going to be the people growing up with AI. I think the AI
Yeah.
natives, like
Yes.
it's just going to be a very different way of approaching things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Imagine the like two generations down when we have the AI and VR native kids. They
yeah,
are their best friends are AI avatars in virtual worlds, and like they are like magicians, just uh, like teleporting wherever they want to be. Now I'm in Harry Potter. Now I'm in Star Wars, and
yeah,
then like whatever abstract worlds they can also come up with. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Crazy stuff. But okay, but bringing that back to
Sorry about
oh,
that.
for sure. No, no, no. I mean, it's. I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you
So
if you bring, sorry, go on, go on.
yeah, so yeah, bringing it back to the here and now, what we're seeing now is how everyone can just fire up ChatGPT with a premium subscription, and all of a sudden they are not maybe not a well functioning, but they are like on their way to become a well functioning data scientist. No matter your background, if you just have a willingness to get over that learning threshold that might be there for you,
Yeah,
and so and to me, it's primarily like a call to action for people that are interested in taking that journey to do that as soon as possible, because
yeah,
there are so immediate rewards there. And yeah, so that's my primary thing, to just encourage people to take the step, like dive in and see how you can apply it to your everyday work.
yeah. I mean, and it's interesting there as well because just taking that. Now we mentioned data analyst, but with ChatGPT with these models, you can. I mean, copywriters, any kind of social media content, any kind of, you know, analysis of written or numerical, or I mean, I guess structured and unstructured data,
Mm,
and pretty much any type of content production from that will at least soon be solved. I mean, we already have text, audio, images, uh,
mm,
video is coming very soon. So pretty much all of those medium, I mean, 3D models as well, and like in different kind of representations. So it's really interesting, how do you feel this has spread so far? Because kind of the capabilities, I talk about this often with like
mm,
different people, like the capabilities are actually there, uh, to do like pretty much most, like, or at least to do most knowledge work,
mm.
uh, like if from these models. So like where do you see, like, what's your experience of like how this is actually right now, like, come out into society, and what's where do you think it's going to go in like the near term, in the next few years?
Yeah, yeah. So there's a very um, unequal distribution of this because either you are in it and we quickly realize the value, or you are just not even touching it, and then that's a mindset you can keep on forever. And sometimes I wonder if the AI doomers they just want to keep AI to themselves and keep that competitive advantage to themselves for as long as possible by spreading these fears about how AI is going to kill us all. But um, and that that could actually be a viable strategy for anyone in a bigger company that where people are scared of AI. Like
Keep them
don't
scared.
yeah, keep them scared, and don't tell one that you're down to working 4 hours per week and just letting the AI to do the rest. Um, and be I don't know. That was a parenthesis, and now I even forgot your question. I'm sorry.
No, no, don't worry. I'll take
Yeah,
it over, because like
yeah,
I have a clear feeling here that like we're so early in the hype and adoption cycle,
yes,
and I think that when you are this high on the hype cycle, I don't know how many people have seen this like classical S curve of technology adoption, but like I have a sense that because, and I feel this as well, because we're so high on the hype curve, it feels like everyone is using AI.
mm,
Whereas like when I actually speak with people, I literally think that no one is using AI. Like it's
mm,
only the super early adopters that are really using it. And then you have kind of, and that's like, I don't know, but like if that would be 1% of knowledge workers, I would almost be surprised.
mm,
Like if it is, like maybe it's more, but like if I'd guess not more than a few percentage points. Like,
mm,
and then you have a bunch of more people, maybe 10, 20% of knowledge workers that have actually tried it, right? And they know they should probably, most of them know they should probably spend more time using it, but they still really don't, because it's a new interface, it's a new way of doing things. You need to kind of take a learning curve, like in some ways still,
mm,
at least kind of an effort to change. Like I can do this myself. Now I'm going to use this new tool to do it in a different way. That is kind of a change, and that's friction in that. So I really think we're super early in the adoption curve,
mm,
and of course this will go quite quickly, especially in some verticals. I think customer service will probably be like one of the first, like with intercoms, Fin, etc., where you have like a
mm,
fully automated customer service agent that you can just try out based on all your conversation and company documents, etc. But so I think it'll move fast. But I think in terms of like people using it to their advantage, becoming this generalist,
mm,
specialist, or whatever the term should be, um, I think so few people, which makes me and those people are going to be able to, at least in my mind, do so much. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting how this plays out in the job market.
yeah,
Like I don't know, I can see different scenarios with like both massive disruption to
mm,
job categories, and just that humanity is able to create much more.
mm.
I actually don't have a clear view there. Do you have a clear view around there?
I, I yeah, I think I don't have any statistics. There was a report couple of months back before the summer that 2% of the US population had tried ChatGPT,
Okay.
and 15% thought it was a game changer for them, and out of the 2%. So that's a tiny,
Mm,
tiny click in
yeah.
and in 2% is, the US is so big. I don't know, what is it, 340 million people or something like that. That even with a very high growth curve, like ChatGPT has had, it's very few people percentage wise, since it's a, I don't know, it has 100 million active users worldwide. A few of them are in the US, a few, like, even less in absolute numbers, of course, is in Sweden. And who are who are they? They are definitely the well educated, um, high salaried people that just want to increase their productivity, and maybe kids doing homework for school, and then a bunch of entrepreneurs writing their investor pitches with ChatGPT.
Yeah. But I think, like, if you just think about that globally, because that statistic is funny, because let's say I don't know this, but I would guess there's not more than 2 billion knowledge workers worldwide. Just like rough
Yeah,
guess, two,
yeah,
3 billion, maybe.
yeah. The number of internet
Um,
users, I haven't seen an updated number, but that's like, what is that? 5 billion,
probably.
7
Yeah. Yeah.
billion. I
Okay,
feel
but
so
let's call it.
uneducated.
Yeah, I mean,
Uneducated.
now we're just guessing, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, in terms of it, it sort of looks like if I just take the rough math of that,
Mm,
it's set, let's say, 100 million divided by 3 billion, that's 1/30th, that's 3%.
mm,
Uh, that's just like a rough guess, but
yeah.
let's say 3%.
Yes.
So it's the usage is overrepresented if this,
Mm,
back of the envelope math is correct,
yeah.
overrepresented outside of US, which makes sense if you look at this societally because the people who have the most to gain are kind of the people who want to move up.
Mm,
Let's say a designer in India or something
mm,
that now can do or not now but like or a copywriter that can do 5-10x the output and with higher quality, and therefore what used to be kind of like a $10 per hour kind of thing on Upwork is
mm,
now $100 per hour thing,
mm,
even though pricing is the same. So I think it's going to really be like an equalizer, but also competitive like pressure, similar to globalization actually,
mm,
on a global basis, where all of a sudden manufacturing in the US had to compete with manufacturing in China when the world opened up, and now since the world is still relatively open, but also on the service side, which of course happened with outsourcing, but still like now there's going to be really like interesting dynamics, uh, because even if this doesn't like if this doesn't end up, removing or remove jobs, it will, but like reducing the amount of like the number of jobs out there, it would probably
mm,
at least be an equalizer in terms of like productivity and the amount of people who can do a specific kind of job,
mm.
educate themselves. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch that play out. Let's see. I don't know. Do you have any last thoughts? Otherwise, I feel like we're up on the 30 minutes ish.
Yes. I just want to finish with one experience I had this week where, um, I wrote a small, like, grant application, and it turned out that I was, like, since I used AI to write it, I was far too wordy. Like, I produced, like, the material. uh, Normally I struggle to put together answers for all the questions, but now, like, the person I emailed the presentation to came back and said, like, this is far too much. I can't read all of this. Like, can you reduce it down to just these questions? And so that was a new experience to me. Like, why, and 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 how that the AI just shifts that balance, and now we struggle to be terse and to the point, instead of struggling to actually answer everything in like, to the extent we expect it to be. So that was just another glimpse into a new world for me.
But did you read that like that presentation before
Y-
sending it?
Well,
Did
yeah,
you read the entirety of
the,
it, or did you like
s-
sort of
yeah,
skim
but
through it?
yes, I read it, and because um, the thing about writing about AI research using AI is that I asked AI to write something, and then I read it, and then I'm like, wow, this is good stuff. This is I'm learning, and those these are good ideas. Like that's and that's amazing. Like co-creating with AI means that I write something, and then I also have to read it
Yeah,
to see what is it that I've written
yeah.
with of course with AI as my keyboard, and it's a learning experience, and but there's a lot of speculation. Of course, the AI can be hand waving and hallucinating left and
Mm,
right. So as a human user, you need to really like know what you're after, and perhaps afterwards ask the AI to take it down a notch and
mm.
just go get to the point quickly.
Yeah, and that is actually interesting. Just tying it back to where we kind of started with competency is like evaluating the output and
Hmm.
validating the output is still I mean, it's still going to be a big thing until you have like very, very high accuracy and you know which tasks you have high accuracy in.
Mm.
Uh, so it's, I mean, I guess my bet would still be that people need to have like some level of competence. It's not going to be anyone can be a data analyst. It's like it's easier for
Mm.
anyone to become a data analyst, maybe.
Yeah, and it can still take time. It can still take months or years before you're actually there producing value, but it's more available. Like the bar is lower.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, good point to end on.
Yes,
Thanks a lot, Martin.
thank you,
Good chat. A
Rasmus.
little bit exploratory today, but that was nice.
Yeah,
I learned a few things.
yeah. Thank you so much to the listener staying with us all the way to the end of this episode. And as always, send an email to Rasmus or Martin at multiply.co if you want to give feedback or input for future episodes. Thanks for today.
Thank you.